Hey you guys, it's Britt. Tonight we're here to talk about the mainstream media covering families like the Dougherty Dozen. Specifically, I am going to use them as an example since a lot of my audience is very interested in Alicia and her content. But this also applies to other family vloggers that are covered in the mainstream media. I really want to talk about this, so if you're interested, please keep watching. All right, you guys. Now, specifically, the reason that I want to talk about this is that I got curious and I Googled Alicia Dougherty just to kind of see what was coming up about her, what did anyone have to say that would pop up on Google? I'm a curious person. I talk about her, so I wanted to Google her. It's pretty simple. And it's been a little while since a big news outlet has covered her, but there have been a few. Specifically, I want to talk about a post that today.com did, as well as MSNBC. But the most recent article that is on Google that pops up as one of the top recommendations is actually from May of this year, and it was on the NewYorkPost.com. Now, New York Post is not they are a mainstream media outlet. I'm not sure if they're as well known as Today or MSNBC. Sound off in the comments down below. I don't spend a whole lot of time on these kinds of websites, so I'm not sure, but from my stance and what I do know, I feel like MSNBC and Today are a little bit more well known, but tell me how you feel about that down below. So I did want to at least acknowledge that mainstream media, depending on if you consider New York Post mainstream media or not, did do an article on her May 21st of this year. Now, the articles that I want to focus on today, one is from October of 2021 and the other is from April of 2022. So it was just over a month before the New York Post article came out. The reason that this article really stuck out to me personally is because I constantly talk about how she has overshared her children's medical history, medical illnesses, things that they have experienced at a really young age, and she has used it as part of her content. It's bad enough that Alicia does it, but when you have mainstream media sources echoing what she has already overshared, that's a really big problem. I am going to read a little bit from each of these articles, but I also don't want to completely create a snooze fest here and just read an article to you guys. But I want to hit on some of the high points, because what I immediately did was when I saw these as the top results on Google, I automatically put myself in the shoes of the kids and of the birth parents. And this is not only oversharing on the kids' behalf, but it's also, because it's all public info, as soon as people can find out who these birth parents are, it's a way to shame them for having the disease of addiction and put Alicia on even more of a pedestal than she has already placed herself on. So the one on MSNBC starts out by saying, when schools closed in March of 2020 at the start of the COVID outbreak, Alicia Dougherty suddenly found herself at home with all 10 of her children. She also made sure to mention here how they had to upgrade to business Wi-Fi. Either way, it briefly mentions her husband, Josh, and how he was teaching his children, his students, via Zoom because of the shutdown. It also goes over their kind of early days and why they started fostering and adopting, but here's where the oversharing begins. It says all 6 of the Dougherty's adopted children have fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, or FASD, a group of conditions that occur when alcohol passes from a mother to her baby through the umbilical cord. FASD can result in a mix of physical, behavioral, and educational issues. The Doughertys didn't realize that blank child had FASD when they welcomed him into their home. He only recently received his diagnosis after the couple sought an explanation for blank's behaviors. Then the Doughertys became the, quote, go-to foster home for kids with FASD. Dougherty said, "We realized we were fully equipped to advocate for the kids' academic, educational, and therapeutic needs." I'm not going to continue to read from this article because that is obviously what I want to cover in this. It also goes over some of the symptoms that FASD can display in children. But let's talk about that because, as we know, her one adopted child is almost going to be, he's 17 now. So this 17-year-old child has all of his medical info out there. People also know that his birth mother, whom has been featured on Alicia's TikTok, drank during her pregnancy, and Alicia swooped in to save the day. So bravo, Alicia. I will make sure to send you a gold star sticker in the mail to your P.O. box. This is so embarrassing. This is not advocacy work. Being an advocate is not oversharing your children's stories. And I saw a compilation of a bunch of TikToks, and I'll insert a little clip, but it essentially was Alicia saying how she wasn't going to share her children's stories.
So what did their parents do?
That's not really my story to share, but I'm glad that I'm here to help them out. It takes a village, you know.
This woman is one of the biggest hypocrites that I have seen covering family vloggers. She will say one thing and the next week do that exact same thing. I think what taking children with FASD has done for Alicia, it's given her a confidence boost. It's given her an ego boost. And I think that it's been a way for her to market herself to these mainstream media networks to say, well, we're not just fostering and adopting, we're taking the hard cases. We're taking the, quote, kids that nobody else can handle. And it's, again, platforming her and Josh as some sort of saviors. I talked about Alicia's white savior complex way back in the early spring of this year. I'll link that video down below. Once I started to cover her, it didn't take me very long at all to see that she was the person who was going to put herself up on a pedestal in order to make herself look like the savior and the, quote, better choice for these children because the other person wasn't able to handle them. They weren't able to meet their educational needs. They couldn't take them to therapy. They weren't able to understand these children. And, Alicia has used the fetal alcohol syndrome as not only a way to market herself to mainstream news networks for articles like this, she's also used their medical issues like the FASD as part of brand sponsorships. And in fact, I am so dedicated to prove this right now. I will find that TikTok and I'm going to put it in right here.
Here's a story about one of our 12 kids. When was 10 months old, we got asked to take foster care placement of him. He had second and third degree burns down the side of his head and body. He was admitted to the hospital all alone with nobody and nothing. When I arrived to meet him, I stopped at the gift shop and quickly bought him a Care Bear. That Care Bear has stayed by his side ever since. Care Bears heard his story and sent him their brand new Dream Bright Bear, who encourages kids to follow their dreams. Dream Bright Bear is the most optimistic bear in Care-a-Lot. She comes with a 2022 Dream Board. She knows anything is possible if you try your best and believe in yourself.
Other people.
If you can't tell, that's a paid ad for Care Bears, made possible through this child's trauma. Look, I'm a foster parent, was a foster parent, and I'm an adoptive parent. You could not pay me enough. There are not enough Care Bears in the world to exploit my child's story.
So I know that there are a lot of things to criticize her over, But when I see things like this, and I think of how these headlines are going to not only impact these children, but also impact the birth families of these kids, it is not okay, because it's done nothing good for anyone except Alicia and Josh Dougherty. It has given them the limelight, them the attention, them the money to, quote, share stories with mainstream news outlets in exchange for attention and money. Now, I've covered part of this TikTok before, so I'm not going to include it in this video, but essentially it's Alicia doing this happy hour with Jill Martin, and she talks about fun and TikTok and trends and how she manages all the craziness. I am all about people having large families if they're able to actually do a large amount of good for those children. But what I constantly see with Alicia is just overconsumption, overspending, white savior complex, not giving her children privacy, using their traumatic history for her current day story and her current day income. And that's why I get so worked up over these situations. You literally have a child who is going to be a legal adult next year, and Alicia has told the world that he suffers with FASD. Like, how does that make him feel? Maybe he didn't want the world to know that he had to deal with this. Maybe this is something that he wanted to deal with his therapist and with his, maybe even Alicia by herself. You claim that it's not your story to tell, but here you are constantly telling the stories to anyone that will listen. And she's quoted in this article again saying people quickly realized that tantrums didn't faze us, so the phone kept ringing. That just sounds like a self-important tangent of, look how special we are, we're not like the other families. It also mentions how another one of the adopted children has PTSD, and essentially Alicia went ahead and shared that with the Today reporter as well, and again pats herself on the back by saying, I'm used to being around random crying and big emotions. It's my norm. It doesn't bother me at all. And then she also says, Josh was raised by a single mom who worked 3 jobs. And so Josh loves hanging with this big family that's always together. This is all fake. It's all for social media. The stress, the tension, and the chaos that must be unfolding in that house 24 hours a day. I just don't understand how you can expect people to flourish in such a chaotic environment. And I've said for the longest time, if these children have an elevated level and requirement of care and attention, I don't understand how being the fun house and giving them unlimited amount of sugar and just having no rules and letting things kind of play by play, who is that really helping? Because the only thing that I've seen going up during this entire time that I've covered Alicia is the amount of views that she's getting, the number of subscribers she's getting, and the number of dollar bills she's getting every single month into her checking account so that she can blow it all the very next day. There was an article that came out right around the same time as that Today article, and I want to share just a quick moment of this with you guys because this is really fantastic. This is literally a 17-year-old kid who is helping legislators navigate the murky ethics of family vlogging. And this is really important. I think that if you're, if you're truly an advocate of children and consent and minors being used for clicks and views online, this is someone who is really making waves. If that's the message that someone wants to stand on, the actions also need to be displayed. Basically, it starts out by saying Chris McCarty is taking matters into his own hands to protect children from being exploited for cash and family vlogs. As a part of their project for the Girl Scouts Gold Award, the highest honor in the program, the Seattle teenager spent months researching child influencers, kids who rake in serious cash for their appearances in YouTube vlogs, which are often run by their parents. They were so fascinated and appalled by the lack of regulation around child labor and social media that they utilized their high school senior independent study program to phone bank their neighbors to gauge community interest in the issue. In January, Chris cold emailed a number of lawmakers, including Washington State Representative Emily Wicks, who serves on the Children, Youth, and Families Committee. He also presented their research, convincing the representative why she should work with a teenager to draft a new bill at the very end of the legislative session. I randomly got an email from Chris and they said, here's the problem and here's the potential solution, Wicks told TechCrunch, and I'm going to link this entire article down below, obviously. I really wanted to provide the opportunity to help them understand exactly how the legislative process works, no matter how far we were able to get the bill. With a 20-year age difference, McCarty and Wicks have distinctly different experiences when it comes to growing up on social media, but they work together to propose House Bill 2023. Children are generating interest in and revenue for the content, but receive no financial compensation for their participation, the bill said about family vlogs. It continues, unlike in child acting, these children are not playing a part and lack legal protections. And I'll link another video down below that I did talking about the COOGAN Act. I went over that in great detail and I tied it back to the FISHFAM because they wanted to say what a wonderful life they're giving their children. But I also wanted to compare what they were saying to the COOGAN Act. And so that's a really great video if you guys don't know about COOGAN Act and why family vlog kids are so much different than child actors. Go take a look at that video if you're interested. And then it goes on to mention some other things. It also talks about Micah Stauffer here for a couple of minutes and what unfolded with her. I actually had mentioned this bill maybe 6 months ago. I'm not sure what video it was mentioned in, but I did talk about this. But I just wanted to mention it again because this is a really great example of actually trying to make a move, and this kid is not even being like, he's not even a YouTuber, he's not someone who's speaking out against family vloggers and that's like his thing. So I just wanted to mention it again here, especially when it comes to Alicia using these children as bait for mainstream media sources. I also have a new TikTok reaction coming on Alicia. I want to cover her partnership with or her alignment with the company Life 360, but I did feel like this was really important. Tell me how you guys feel. I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of how most of y'all feel about this, but when it comes to mainstream media, allowing these family vloggers to say, oh, hey, we have a child with XYZ issue, or we took on the difficult sibling group, you should do a story on us. And within the language of that story, you're outlining a child's medical issues, their mental health diagnoses, issues that their parents have had and why they ended up with you. That is not okay. I don't care if you're accredited. I don't care if you've been around for 100 years as a mainstream media source. I understand that media and ethics don't always go hand in hand, but I'm here to call it out. And I could not believe the amount of oversharing that was done in these two results that were literally the top results when you Google Alicia Dougherty. It's shocking. Either way, I think that's it for now. So if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.